I was the lawyer in a divorce where a man's brother slept with his wife, but the coldest thing he did wasn't the divorce. It was disappearing. I've been doing divorce law for 15 years. I've seen every flavor of betrayal you can imagine: cheating spouses, embezzling partners, secret second families, the works. After a while, you get desensitized. Someone walks into my office crying about their husband sleeping with the nanny, and I'm already mentally drafting the custody agreement before they finish their story. But Thorne Calloway was different. He walked into my office on a Tuesday morning in January, the kind of cold that makes your bones ache. Snow piled up on the sidewalks outside, and my assistant had called in sick, so I was alone when he arrived. No appointment. Just knocked on the door and waited. I looked up from my coffee and saw him standing there, mid-30s, wearing a charcoal suit that fit too well to be off the rack but wasn't flashy about it. Dark hair, average height, nothing particularly remarkable except for his eyes. Calm. Focused. The kind of calm that makes you nervous because it shouldn't be there. "I need a divorce attorney," he said. No emotion. Like he was asking for directions. I waved him in. "Have a seat. Tell me what's going on." He sat down, placed a thin black folder on my desk, and folded his hands. That folder bothered me immediately. Most people come in with crumpled printouts, tearful explanations, messy evidence stuffed in grocery bags. This looked like a business presentation. "My wife has been having an affair with my brother," he said. Matter of fact. For 8 months. I have proof. I'd heard worse opening lines, but something about his delivery made my skin prickle. No trembling voice. No red eyes. Just a statement of facts. "Okay," I said carefully. "And you want to file for divorce?" "Yes." He pushed the folder toward me. "Everything you need is in here." I opened it. Bank transfers. Dozens of them. Money moving from an account under the name Darius Calloway to various locations, hotels, restaurants, a jewelry store. Dates and amounts highlighted in yellow. Hotel receipts. 8 months worth. Different places, but a pattern. Always the same 2 names on the reservation. Screenshots of text messages. I only read a few before I got the picture. Intimate. Explicit. Planning their next meetup while Thorne was away on business trips. And then the kicker: security camera footage. Timestamps from Thorne's own home. I didn't watch it, but the thumbnail images told me everything. His wife. His brother. In his house. I looked up at him. He was watching me with that same unsettling calm. "How long have you known?" I asked. 2 months. "And you haven't confronted them?" "No." I sat back in my chair. "Mr. Calloway, Thorne. Thorne. Most people in your situation. They confront their spouse immediately. They scream, they throw them out, I'm not most people." "No kidding." He leaned forward slightly. "I married Celine 6 years ago. I built a commercial real estate business from nothing. My brother Darius works in finance, or tries to. He's always been the one who needed help, needed money, needed someone to bail him out. I've spent my whole life being that person." "Your parents?" Something flickered across his face. "They've always coddled him. Expected me to be the responsible one. When Darius needed startup capital for investments, I loaned it to him. $60,000. I whistled low. "And now he's sleeping with your wife?" "Yes." I flipped through more pages. "You collected all this yourself?" "Private investigator for the initial confirmation. The rest I gathered on my own." He said it like he was describing grocery shopping. "I needed to be thorough." "This is extremely thorough." I looked at him. "What exactly do you want from this divorce?" He didn't blink. "I want her to get nothing. The prenup has an infidelity clause. I want it enforced to the letter. I also want to pursue legal action against my brother for breach of contract and fraud related to the money he borrowed from me. That's going to get ugly. I'm aware. Your family is not my concern." The way he said it. Final. Like a door slamming shut. I studied him for a long moment. Most clients sit across from me radiating anger, hurt, the need for vengeance. Thorne radiated nothing. Just cold, calculated purpose. "Are you planning to tell them you know?" I asked. "Before we file?" His answer made my blood run cold. "Why would I? They'll find out when the papers are served. I'm not interested in their explanations." I realized right then that this wasn't going to be a normal divorce case. This was something else entirely. This was erasure. That first meeting was in January. By April, we built a case so airtight it could survive a nuclear blast. The work happened in complete silence. Thorne came to my office every Thursday at 6 p.m., like clockwork. We'd review documents, discuss strategy, file motions. He never raised his voice. Never showed frustration when things took longer than expected. Just absorbed information and made decisions. I brought in a forensic accountant, guy I'd worked with on complex asset cases before. Within 3 weeks, he'd uncovered something beautiful. Remember that $60,000 Thorne loaned to Darius? Turns out Darius had used it to invest in several of Thorne's own business deals. Not as a partner. As an outside investor using borrowed money. And he'd structured everything poorly, personally guaranteed loans, signed contracts that left him completely exposed if anything went south. Darius had essentially tied his financial neck to Thorne's business dealings, then slept with Thorne's wife. The accountant looked at me over his reading glasses and said, "This guy's an idiot." I called Thorne with the news. Expected some satisfaction in his voice. "Got nothing. Can we use it?" he asked. "Use it? Thorne, we can bury him with it. Breach of contract, fraud, personal liability for failed investments. He's legally N-word here." "Good. Proceed." Click. What disturbed me most was how Thorne lived during those 3 months. He went home every night to Celine. Slept in the same bed. Had dinner with her. Went to work, came home, repeated. Like nothing was wrong. She had no idea a legal guillotine was being constructed above her head. I asked him about it once, during a late session in March. "How do you do it?" I said. "How do you go home and act normal?" He looked at me like I'd asked a stupid question. Compartmentalization. The personal and the professional don't need to mix. This isn't professional. This is your marriage. Was my marriage, he corrected. Now it's just a legal problem I'm solving. Jesus. He mentioned family gatherings too. His parents hosted Sunday dinners. Thorne would go, sit across from Darius, watch his wife and brother exchange guilty little glances when they thought no one was looking. "They're not very good at hiding it," he said once, almost clinically. "Darius always leaves 10 minutes after Celine does. They think they're being subtle. And you just sit there? Why wouldn't I? Making a scene accomplishes nothing." Meanwhile, I was filing subpoenas, securing bank records, deposing witnesses. The prenup Celine had signed was ironclad. I'd checked with 3 different attorneys just to be sure. Infidelity clause meant she got basically nothing if she cheated. And with the evidence Thorne had collected, proving infidelity would take about 15 minutes. We also discovered Celine had been moving money into hidden accounts. Not much, $5,000 here, $3,000 there. Probably planning her exit strategy, or maybe just keeping funds Darius could access. Either way, it gave us more ammunition. Then in late March, something shifted. Thorne came in for our Thursday meeting looking, I don't know. Not upset. But different. "My parents found out," he said, sitting down. I straightened. "Found out how?" Darius told them. Apparently he's been feeling guilty. Thorne's tone suggested he found this amusing. "They called me yesterday. Wanted to talk about it." "And?" "They suggested family therapy. Said Darius is going through a hard time and made a mistake. That Celine and I should work it out because divorce is hard on everyone." He paused. "My mother actually said, 'He's your brother, these things happen.'" I stared at him. "They're defending him?" "Apparently." "What did you say?" I said okay and hung up. "That's it? What else is there to say?" He pulled out his phone, opened the calendar. "How much longer until we're ready to file?" I checked my notes. 2 weeks. Maybe 3 if we want to be absolutely certain. 2 weeks is fine. "Thorne, about your parents, I haven't spoken to them since that call," he said. "And I won't." Something in his voice told me he meant permanently. We spent the next 2 weeks finalizing everything. Every document reviewed, every piece of evidence cataloged, every motion prepared. The case was perfect. Celine's attorney, when she finally got one, would have nothing to work with. On a Thursday in mid-April, I handed Thorne the final stack of documents. "Everything's ready," I said. "Once we file, it all becomes public record. Court dates get scheduled, papers get served, the whole thing becomes official. Are you certain you want to do this?" Thorne didn't even hesitate. "File it tomorrow morning," he said. "I want the papers served by end of week." I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of what was about to happen. Somewhere across town, Celine and Darius were going about their lives, thinking they'd gotten away with it. They had no idea the bomb was already armed, and Thorne would be nowhere near the blast radius when it detonated. We filed Friday morning. By Friday afternoon, process servers had delivered the papers. Celine got hers at the house. Thorne had moved to a hotel 3 days earlier, packed a bag while she was at work, left his keys on the kitchen counter, never said a word about where he was going. When the server showed up, she apparently thought it was some kind of mistake. Darius got his at the office. Not just divorce papers, a whole lawsuit package. Breach of contract, fraud, recovery of misused funds. My process server said Darius went pale and had to sit down. Then my phone started ringing. First it was Celine. 5 calls in 10 minutes, all sent to voicemail. Then Darius, 7 calls. Then a number I didn't recognize that turned out to be their mother. I didn't answer any of them. Professional courtesy meant I only spoke to their attorneys, and they hadn't hired any yet. But word travels fast in this business. By Monday I'd heard through the grapevine what happened over the weekend. Celine had called Thorne 237 times. Every single call went to voicemail. She'd driven to his office on Saturday, security turned her away. She'd gone to his parents' house, crying, begging them to make him talk to her. Darius had done the same. Calls, emails, texts. Nothing. Radio silence. The parents tried too. Left voicemails begging Thorne to reconsider, to be reasonable, to remember their family. Thorne ignored all of them. He'd changed his number. Set his work email to auto-delete anything from their addresses. Instructed his assistant and security to deny them access. It was like he'd built a wall of absolute silence around himself, and they were all screaming at it from the other side. 2 weeks later, we had the divorce hearing. I got to the courthouse 20 minutes early. Thorne was already there, sitting on a bench outside the courtroom, reading something on his phone. Same unsettling calm. Pressed suit, perfect posture, no visible emotion. Celine arrived 10 minutes before the hearing with her attorney, some guy who looked fresh out of law school and way out of his depth. She'd aged a decade in 2 weeks. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy knot, hands shaking as she clutched her purse. She saw Thorne and started walking toward him. He didn't even look up from his phone. She stopped 5 feet away, opened her mouth, closed it again. Her attorney gently pulled her back. Darius wasn't there. He was dealing with his own legal nightmare. My colleague handling that lawsuit had already started freezing assets and deposing witnesses. The courtroom was nearly empty. Judge Morrison was known for running a tight ship, no drama, no delays, just facts and decisions. The hearing started at 2 p.m. By 2:52, it was over. 52 minutes to dismantle a 6-year marriage. Celine's attorney tried his best. Argued for equitable distribution of assets, requested alimony, suggested counseling before finalizing the divorce. The judge listened politely, then asked if he'd reviewed the prenuptial agreement. The kid fumbled with his papers. Yes, Your Honor, but... And you're aware of the infidelity clause? Yes, but my client disputes. I stood up. Your Honor, we have extensive documentation. I presented everything. Bank transfers showing Darius and Celine's financial entanglement. Hotel receipts with both their names. Screenshots of messages planning their encounters. I didn't show the security footage, didn't need to. The judge had already seen enough. Mrs. Calloway, Judge Morrison said, do you dispute the authenticity of this evidence? Celine started to speak, her voice breaking. Your Honor, I know what it looks like, but, yes or no, please. Her attorney put a hand on her arm. She deflated. No. The judge reviewed the prenup again, made some notes, and ruled. Celine got nothing. The prenup was ironclad and she'd violated it. No alimony. Minimal asset split, basically whatever she'd brought into the marriage plus her personal belongings. The house went to Thorne. She had 30 days to vacate. During the entire proceeding, Thorne sat perfectly still. When the judge asked him direct questions, he answered with yes, Your Honor, or no, Your Honor. Never looked at Celine. Never showed any emotion when she started crying halfway through. Just watched the judge, hands folded on the table, like he was attending a business meeting. When it was over, Celine tried to approach him in the hallway. She got within 3 feet before he walked past her. Not around her. Past her. Like she was a piece of furniture. Thorne, please, her voice cracked. He kept walking. Her attorney caught up to me. Look, maybe we can work something out? Negotiate a settlement that's less. No negotiations, I said. The judge ruled. It's done. But surely Mr. Calloway would be willing to. No, Celine was sobbing now, leaning against the wall while her attorney tried to comfort her. Thorne had already left the building. I watched through the glass doors as he got in his car and drove away. Probably went back to work. Like it was just another day. I was packing up my briefcase when my phone rang. Unknown number. This is Harold Chen, I represent Darius Calloway. The voice sounded stressed. My client is being buried by your lawsuits. What does Mr. Calloway want? Money? An apology? We need to negotiate. I called Thorne immediately, relayed the message. His response was instant. There's nothing to negotiate. Let the suits proceed. Thorne, they're offering to settle. I don't want a settlement. I want every lawsuit to run its full course. I stood there in the empty courthouse hallway, phone pressed to my ear, and finally understood. This wasn't about winning. Thorne had already won. This was about complete destruction. By the end of that week, Darius's world had collapsed. The forensic audit we'd commissioned came back with a full report. $60,000 in borrowed money, invested in 3 separate ventures tied to Thorne's business. All of them structured with Darius as a personal guarantor. When those investments went sideways, and commercial real estate always has deals that go sideways, Darius became personally liable. He'd also signed contracts that required him to maintain certain financial disclosures. Turns out sleeping with your lender's wife and using loan money to buy her gifts constitutes fraud in the eyes of contract law. My colleague handling the business litigation called me Wednesday afternoon. This guy's bleeding out. We've frozen 2 of his accounts, and 3 creditors just filed liens against him. He's going to have to declare bankruptcy. How long? Month. Maybe 2 if he tries to fight it, but he can't afford the legal fees to fight. Darius's career in finance was over. Word spreads fast in that industry. Nobody wants to work with someone buried in lawsuits for fraud and breach of contract. His LinkedIn profile disappeared. His work email bounced. By Friday, he'd been let go from his firm. Celine wasn't doing much better. She'd moved out of the house the week after the hearing. Couldn't afford to wait the full 30 days, needed to find somewhere cheap immediately. I heard through her attorney she was living in a 1-bedroom apartment in a building with coin-operated laundry. Her hidden accounts had been frozen and claimed in the settlement. The jewelry Darius bought her? Purchased with Thorne's money, so we'd recovered it as marital assets. She'd had a job lined up at a marketing firm, but when they ran the background check and found the divorce proceedings, the offer vanished. And through it all, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Monday, Thorne's mother, 3 calls. Tuesday, his father, 2 calls and a voicemail begging me to please just tell him to call us. Wednesday, his mother again, crying so hard I could barely understand her. Thursday morning, Darius himself showed up at my office. My assistant buzzed me. There's a Darius Calloway here to see you. Tell him I don't speak with opposing parties without their counsel present. He says he'll wait. He sat in my lobby for 4 hours. I could see him through the glass door of my office. Unshaven, wearing jeans and a wrinkled button-down, scrolling through his phone like he was waiting for a miracle. Finally, he left. Friday afternoon, I got a call from someone claiming to be a private investigator Darius had hired to locate Thorne. I told them I couldn't help and hung up. That same day, Celine showed up. My assistant tried to stop her, but she pushed past into the waiting area. I heard the commotion and came out. She looked destroyed. Hair unwashed, makeup smudged, wearing clothes that looked slept in. Please, she said. I just need to talk to him. 5 minutes. I just need to explain. Mrs. Calloway, I know I don't deserve it, I know what I did, but please. He won't answer my calls, he won't respond to letters, I can't help you. You don't understand. He's destroying everything. Darius is losing his house, I can't find work, his parents are. Mrs. Calloway, I need you to leave. She stood there, hands shaking, tears running down her face. For a moment I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then I remembered the security footage. The 8 months of lies. The messages planning their next hookup while Thorne was away on business. I'm calling security, I said. She left. The following Monday, Thorne came to my office for what I thought was a routine follow-up meeting. He sat down, declined my offer of coffee, and pulled out a sheet of paper. I need your help with something, he said. I took the paper. It was a list. Properties to sell, business assets to transfer, accounts to close, corporate structures to dissolve. This is extensive, I said, scanning the list. You're liquidating everything? Not everything. Just anything tied to this city. I looked up. Thorne, the case is over. You won. Celine's out, Darius is bankrupt, I need this done in the next 3 weeks. Complete severance of all ties to this city. Something in my chest tightened. You're leaving? He met my eyes. That same unsettling calm. I'm starting over. Somewhere else. New city, possibly new name. I need every legal and financial connection to this place dissolved before I go. Jesus, Thorn. This is. You don't have to do this. You've already won. Have I? He leaned back in his chair. My parents are calling you every day begging me to forgive Darius. Celine keeps showing up places trying to apologize. Darius hired someone to track me down. As long as I'm here, they think there's a chance for reconciliation. And you want to make sure there isn't? No. I want to make sure they understand there isn't. I looked at the list again. Selling property at market value, not even trying to maximize profit. Transferring business ownership through holding companies so complex it would take months to trace them. Closing accounts with no forwarding information. This wasn't just leaving town. This was vanishing. Most people would celebrate this kind of victory, I said quietly. Celine and Darius both ruined in under a week. Your family desperate to make amends. But you're not celebrating. You're just moving to the next phase. The case is over, Thorn said. Now I finish this properly. He stood, placed the list on my desk. 3 weeks. Can you do it? I stared at him, trying to understand what I was witnessing. Total erasure. Not just of his marriage or his relationship with Darius, but of his entire existence in this city. Yeah, I said. I can do it. He nodded and turned to leave. Thorn, I called after him. Are you really never going to speak to them again? Not even once? He paused at the door, hand on the handle. I already left. This is just paperwork. And then he was gone. 3 weeks turned out to be ambitious, but we made it work. Property sales moved fast when you don't care about getting top dollar. Thorn's condo sold in 9 days, priced at market value, cash buyer, done. 2 commercial properties he owned went the week after. He was leaving money on the table, but he didn't care. Speed mattered more than profit. The business transfers were more complex. Thorn owned stakes in 4 different commercial real estate ventures. He transferred ownership through a maze of holding companies, LLCs owned by other LLCs, corporate structures so layered it would take a forensic accountant months to trace them back to him. Perfectly legal, just deliberately obscure. He closed every bank account in the city. Opened new ones out of state, different banks entirely. Changed his phone number again. Filed paperwork to legally change his address to a P.O. box in a town I'd never heard of. And through it all, the calls kept coming. His mother called my office every other day. Sometimes twice a day. I stopped answering, let them go to voicemail. Each message was the same, desperation, apologies, begging for just one conversation. His father sent 3 certified letters to the office. I returned them unopened per Thorn's instructions. Darius tried a different approach. He sent an email to my work address, somehow got it off the state bar website, offering to make things right if Thorn would just talk to him. I forwarded it to Thorn. He replied with 2 words, deleted. Week 2, I heard that Celine had gone to Thorn's old office building. Waited in the lobby for 6 hours hoping to catch him. Security finally escorted her out. She didn't know he'd already resigned, transferred his client relationships, wiped his name from the company directory. By week 3, Darius had officially declared bankruptcy. The lawsuits were still proceeding, they'd follow him for years, but his assets were gone. I heard he'd moved back in with his parents. Celine was working a receptionist job. Her attorney had stopped returning her calls once she couldn't pay his retainer. The parents' marriage was apparently strained. The mother blamed the father for not stopping Darius from the affair. The father blamed the mother for coddling him his whole life. Neither of them could reach the son they actually wanted to talk to. Thorn came to my office one last time on a Wednesday afternoon in early May. The liquidation was complete. Every asset sold or transferred, every account closed, every legal tie to the city severed. I had a folder full of final documents for him to sign. He sat across from me and went through each page methodically. Signed where I indicated, initialed changes, asked clarifying questions. Pure business. When he finished, I pulled out the final invoice. He paid it in full on the spot, cashier's check, no electronic trail. That's everything, I said. You're legally untethered. Thank you. He stood, offered his hand. I shook it, but didn't let go immediately. Thorn, I have to ask. Is this really necessary? You've already won. Celine's broken, Darius is bankrupt, your parents are destroyed with guilt. Walking away, leaving the entire city, isn't that over the top? He considered the question like I'd asked him about the weather. My parents called you last week, he said. Didn't they? 3 times. They want me to forgive Darius. To remember we're family. To understand he made a mistake. He pulled his hand back. They defended him when I was the one wronged. They minimized what he did because that's what they've always done. Made excuses for his failures while expecting me to be the foundation holding everything up. And Celine? Celine made her choice 8 months ago. Every time she kissed me after being with him. Every lie she told. Every time she looked me in the eye and played the faithful wife. His voice didn't rise, didn't break. Just stated facts. She chose this. But leaving entirely, as long as I'm here, they think there's hope. They think if they apologize enough, cry enough, beg enough, I'll eventually forgive them. That I'll be the bigger person and repair what they broke. He walked to the window, looked out at the city skyline. I spent my whole life being the responsible one. The one who fixed problems, who helped everyone, who held things together. I'm done being the foundation they can betray and still expect to stand on. I'd heard a lot of justifications for divorce in my career. Anger, hurt, revenge. But this was different. This was liberation. So you're just going to disappear, I said. I'm going to live my life without them in it. New city, possibly new legal name, definitely new everything else. They'll have no way to contact me. No way to find me. No chance at closure or forgiveness or whatever they think they need. That's harsh. Is it? He turned back to me. They had 6 years to value me. 8 months to stop the affair before it started. 2 weeks after I found out to come clean before I had to expose them. They chose themselves every single time. I'm just choosing myself now. I couldn't argue with that logic. Where will you go? Does it matter? I guess not. He picked up his copy of the documents, slipped them into a leather portfolio. You won't hear from me again. I appreciate everything you did. You're a good attorney. Will you at least tell me if you land okay? Just so I know you're all right? He smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from him in 3 months. But it wasn't warm. It was final. No. We stood there for a moment, and I realized I was witnessing something I'd never seen before. Not a man running from his problems. A man surgically removing toxic people from his life with such precision they'd never recover. Goodbye, he said. And then he walked out of my office for the last time. I sat at my desk for 20 minutes after he left, staring at the closed door. Most victories in divorce law are messy. Angry emails, custody battles, financial disputes that drag on for years. Thorne's victory was silent. Complete. And absolutely terrifying in its coldness. 2 days later, my phone rang. I almost didn't answer when I saw the unfamiliar number. This is Patricia Calloway. The voice was broken, raw from crying. Thorne's mother. Please, please, you have to help me. We just need to talk to him. Darius is falling apart, the family is destroyed, we were wrong. We know we were wrong. He just needs to give us a chance to apologize. To make this right. I closed my eyes, felt the weight of what I was about to say. Mrs. Calloway, Thorne left explicit instructions before he departed. He has no family. Don't call this office again. Silence on the line. Then a sound I'll never forget, the kind of sobbing that comes from complete, permanent loss. I hung up. And sitting there in my empty office, I finally understood what Thorne had done. The divorce wasn't the punishment. The lawsuits weren't the punishment. Being erased from his life, that was the sentence. And it would last forever. 6 months passed. The calls didn't stop, they just became less frequent. Once a week instead of daily. Then every other week. But they still came. I'd hear updates through the legal grapevine, sometimes from other attorneys, sometimes from court filings that crossed my desk. Darius declared bankruptcy in June. Lost his condo, his car, everything. The lawsuits were still grinding forward, those don't disappear with bankruptcy. Last I heard, he was working at a retail store, living in his childhood bedroom at 34 years old. His LinkedIn profile stayed deleted. His career in finance was permanently dead. Celine found work as an administrative assistant at a medical clinic. Small apartment in a bad part of town, no savings, driving a 15-year-old sedan she'd bought cash. Her divorce was public record, and in this city, people talked. Dating prospects were non-existent. Nobody wants the woman who destroyed her marriage by sleeping with her husband's brother. Thorne's parents aged a decade and half a year. I saw his father once at a courthouse, didn't recognize him at first. Gray hair, hunched shoulders, the look of someone carrying permanent guilt. Their marriage was strained to breaking. Decades of enabling Darius had finally caught up with them, and they had no idea how to process it. They'd lost one son to their own choices. The other son was drowning in consequences. And the family structure they'd built their lives around had collapsed. All because the foundation they'd taken for granted had quietly walked away. This case changed how I practice law. I've handled hundreds of divorces. Most clients want revenge that keeps them connected, ongoing custody battles, financial disputes, finding ways to make their ex suffer. They want their former spouse to know they're winning, to see the pain they've caused. Thorne wanted something purer. Freedom. Complete, absolute freedom from people who'd betrayed him. No ongoing drama, no continued contact, no satisfaction of watching them suffer. Just the simple act of removing them from his existence. I started recommending this approach to other clients. Not the disappearing part, that's extreme, but the philosophy. Sometimes the best revenge isn't making someone pay. It's refusing to let them matter anymore. The calls from Thorne's family tapered off through summer and fall. By September, maybe one call a month. I never answered. What was there to say? Then in early November, 9 months after Thorne walked out of my office, my phone rang one last time. I recognized the number. Almost sent it to voicemail, but something made me answer. This is Patricia Calloway. Her voice sounded hollow. Defeated. I know you probably won't talk to me. I know you have no reason to help. But I need to know. Is he okay? Is he even alive? I leaned back in my chair, looked out at the city skyline. Somewhere out there, Thorne was living a completely different life. Or maybe he wasn't out there at all. Maybe he'd moved across the country, changed his name, started fresh somewhere I'd never heard of. Honestly, I had no idea. I believe he's doing exactly what he wants to do, I said. Will he ever? She paused, and I could hear her struggling to get the words out. Will he ever forgive us? Come back? Give us a chance to make this right? I thought about the man who sat in my office with that black folder. The 3 months of perfect control. The cold precision of his legal strategy. The complete absence of hesitation when he decided to vanish. No, I said simply. The line went quiet. Not empty, I could still hear her breathing. Just quiet. I understand, she finally whispered. Thank you for telling me the truth. She hung up. I sat there for a long time after that call, thinking about Thorne Calloway. I imagined him in some new city. Different name, new business, new relationships. Maybe he'd rebuilt his commercial real estate empire somewhere else. Maybe he'd changed careers entirely. Maybe he'd gotten married again, started a family, built a life with people who valued him. I hope so. He deserved that. And the beautiful, terrible thing was, his family would never know. They'd spend the rest of their lives wondering. Where is he? Is he happy? Does he ever think about us? Will he ever come back? They wanted closure. Forgiveness. A chance to apologize and rebuild. Thorne gave them none of that. Just permanent, absolute absence. I keep his case file in my cabinet, third drawer down. Sometimes when I have a client going through a particularly brutal betrayal, I think about pulling it out. Showing them what's possible when you choose yourself over the people who hurt you. But I never do. Some lessons are too cold to teach directly. Thorne Calloway taught me that revenge doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be vindictive or cruel or even satisfying in the traditional sense. Sometimes revenge is just the quiet act of walking away and never looking back. His family calls it abandonment. Cruelty. Punishment beyond what they deserved. But I know what it really is. Liberation. Thorne didn't destroy his family. He just stopped existing for them. And they have to live every single day knowing he's out there somewhere, thriving, happy, free, and they will never, ever be part of it again. Not because he died. Not because something happened to him. But because to Thorne Calloway, they simply don't exist anymore. And after everything I witnessed in that case, I realized something that still unsettles me years later. The divorce wasn't the punishment. The financial ruin wasn't the punishment. Being erased from Thorne Calloway's life was the punishment. And it was the most brutal sentence he could have given them. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.